All right, we're live. Ross and I are talking movies behind
Hmm.
the scene before we started. Just watched The Menu last night. A lot of fun. Those of you who haven't seen it yet that have an opportunity to do so, it's on HBO Max right now. You should take advantage.
They should. And HBO Max should pay us. This sounds like an ad right now.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, next year we'll try to get that sponsorship hooked up. That'd be great because I already watch it. So
Yeah.
that's the value proposition of HBO for me. For HBO Max for me is good. Like that
Yes.
we get our money's worth.
The
Um,
content is amazing. They
yeah,
have all the past HBO shows. You want to watch The Sopranos, The Wire, Oz, things like that. They've got all the Discovery stuff. It's a good streamer.
yeah, absolutely. So last week,
Yep.
bad week for me.
Hmm.
Good week for you. You got out of the
Yeah.
hole. I
Um,
mean, you're at plus minus zero. So it's 17 weeks.
we're flat.
All of your sins have been washed away. And
Yes.
now's your opportunity to score big here. But the
Yes.
problem is, like, we've got some tough lines. So I just want to
Mhm.
like recap real quick for me. Every single bet that I picked on this show, I lost. Every single one. And some of them, like I just missed. And some of them because of the last, something that happened or because of the last minute or whatever, and
Mhm.
obviously the Bills game, like, okay, that, let's not worry about that. But,
Mhm.
I didn't lose that one. That one just came off the board.
Mhm.
But the Bears game, I bet the over.
Yeah.
That was the right bet. Like that was absolutely the right bet. Something happened to Justin Fields. Bears
Mhm.
offense stalls out. They don't score any more points to the point where Detroit says, we are just going to try to sit on the ball because we don't want to run up the score any
Yeah.
more than we already do. And they scored what, 31, right?
Mhm.
So, or 41. What was it? 41 to 10?
41 to 10.
Yeah, yeah. So, and the over under was 52. So, like, okay, it was still the right bet. Even though he lost, it was still the right bet. You have to assume that the Bears are not going to just stall out and not going to be able to do anything. So, a couple of those things happen, and you have a bad week. It's
Mhm.
unfortunate, but it is what it is. In real life, I bet those bets
Mhm.
that I put on the show, and I lost all of them. Okay, so Sunday night game comes around, and I say, screw it. I'm going to take both of these turbocharged prop bets
Yeah.
that Caesars has up. And if I lose them, it's just a really bad day, whatever. But if I hit them, if I hit one of them, it takes away some of the sting. If I hit both of them, I'm back to even.
Mhm.
And they both hit.
Yeah.
One of them was a Najee Harris bet over on yards plus a touchdown, and he got that touchdown in the last minute.
Mhm.
And then the other one was Mark Andrews and J.K. Dobbins yardage bets. They both, again, Caesars has moved to like pumping up parlays, so you have to hit two legs,
Mhm.
and then they juice it up a little bit, which is much harder to hit. They used to just have like nice one prop bets that they charge up. They were clearly losing too much money with that, so they
Mhm.
they went to the parlay. I
Mhm.
It's like the first time in a long time that I've actually taken one of them, and I took both of them, and it put me back to even for the day. So
Nice.
gambling's silly.
It is. But that's how you gotta rally a little bit. Sometimes you gotta trust yourself and one more Hail Mary, right? At the end of the
Yeah,
night.
so every once in a while, I go, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna play it. So I'm looking at this board today,
Mhm.
and things may have shifted even
Yeah.
since I did this. I did this yesterday.
Mhm.
Things are weird, right? Some of these games are just simply not real.
Yeah.
Some of these games are with teams that are locked into their playoff spot. The Giants, for instance, they're
Mhm.
at the sixth seed, regardless of what happens today.
Mhm.
So they have no incentive to play. They're going to use this as a bye week for most of their starters
Mhm.
because they want to be healthy for next week's playoff game. That's a
Mhm.
14.5 point line. The Eagles are motivated to win that game. They're at home. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Is 14.5 too much? Is it too little?
Yeah.
Like, are the Eagles going to get out in front and then kind of coast and just kind of sit
Mhm.
on the ball? That game is going to be, yeah, the Eagles will win the money line almost certainly. But
Mhm.
what's the point of betting that game, right?
Mhm.
So there's a bunch of those out there. I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in getting any of those. So this slate is not real.
Yeah, it is. It's tough sledding. You don't even know like when guys like they might go for it in first half and pull
Right.
guys and like even we're rooting for Bears loss today, right? And that -6 line, like you don't know if Minnesota's going to play their starters for 4 quarters and maybe they start pulling guys in the third quarter and Nathan Peterman gets like a backdoor cover or something like that. It's tough sledding today. I'll tell you what's not tough sledding as I kick it off here. Lovey.
Yeah.
Levy's
Let's
going
do
for it
it.
today.
Let's do it.
Lovey wants to win this football game today. Lovey might not have a job tomorrow or next week. He doesn't care. He's an old school coach. He wants to win this football game today. He has the better roster. He has a better team. He's a better coach than Jeff Saturday. I'm taking the Texans today plus 2.5 on the road against the Colts. I don't care. I think that the Texans are going to win this football game today. I think they're going to get the second overall pick. And I think Lovey gives zero shits about this at all. He's going to go for it today. So I'm taking them to win this football game. I'm putting an orange chip on the Texans plus 2.5.
I love it. I'm joining you. This is what we want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Totally get it. However, all of the things are lined up. Even this morning, reading about Lovey's in conversation with the Texans. He's not guaranteed next year. He was set up here. Those players want to go out and win one for they. Lovey is a coach that everybody has loved that play for him, right? Like he is a player's coach. And people love Lovey Smith. Okay. Those guys are going to be motivated. The Colts, I don't know what's happening in that building.
Right.
Again, we've made fun of their owner, Jim Irsay, and his, substance fueled whatever he is, but he's made some weird comments about kind of getting a little bit more involved. I think there might be pressure here to actually drop this game.
Yeah.
Because he wants to make sure that they get a quarterback. This actually gets them this gets them a better pick, ensures them a higher pick, and it knocks a division rival out of the top pick and maybe puts the number 1 pick in play for the Colts to be able to trade up for. Now, if he can, mind meld that sort of thing, I don't know, but would you put that beyond him?
Listen, my prediction, you hear it here first. I think that if the Bears lose today and the Texans win today, I think the Colts will trade up with the Bears for the first overall pick. And I think that they will take Bryce Young. And I think they will move heaven and earth to jump the Texans to get that pick. And I think they'll do it fairly soon. I think you'll see it done by like early March.
I love it. Robert and I talked about it yesterday on the preview show. It makes it's a little conspiracy theory, right? Like you have to get out, you have to at least line your hat with tinfoil a little bit to say like this, it doesn't have to be made completely of foil, but there's a little bit, right? It glints off, but why not? Right? This is great. This is good theater.
Yes.
And so I'm in on this. And for all of the reasons it's pointing to Lovey Smith's team being able to take care of business and he gets one more victory for the Bears, that would be fantastic. So, I don't have a lot of lines that I like because of that, but I think Green Bay is going to find a way to win this game. I get it. I'm not an idiot. I've seen this play before, but 4.5 points for me. For the Lions, I think they keep it competitive. This feels like a Rodgers has the ball late, comes back, and they win the game by 3. They win the game by 1, whatever.
Yep.
It's just because that's how things work in this world. But 4.5 feels like too much. And I like the Lions offense, and I don't like the Lions defense. So there's some other, but I'll just do it now. I'm going to put a big chip on the over.
Yes.
And so those are my bets that I feel. This is a live game. Even if the Lions are knocked out because the Seahawks win their game, they're still going to want to play. They're still going to want a winning record. Like those things are going to matter to the fighting Dan Campbell's. And so I'm in on this game as a live game to bet tonight.
I am joining you on both of those bets. I completely agree. Dan Campbell, head coach, is a true meatball. He's going to go out there and he's going to fight and play this football game. Tooth and nail, regardless of the situation. I'm putting the blue chip on the plus 4.5. I'm putting the orange chip as well on the over. I completely agree with you. I think that a lot of people are like saying that the Rodgers allure is going to, come through. And listen, really, has he been playing good football the last couple of weeks? I don't think so, right? I mean, he had to get bailed out by a Tua concussion and a bunch of interceptions to even be in this position. I think the Lions are a good football team. I think they can go into Green Bay and potentially win this game, but at the very least, keep it close. But I'm going to take the over as well on that game. I think you're going to see a lot of points tonight. This should have been the Saturday night game, right? Because you wanted this game before we found out what happens with the Seattle situation. And we should have gotten my Jacksonville Jaguars in the Sunday night game and Trevor Lawrence in this night game. But obviously the league loves Aaron Rodgers. They love Lambeau Field. So we'll get this in the night game. But I like the Lions a lot tonight.
It's good that you didn't get that, Ross, because you would have lost that bet.
I would have lost that bet. Yes, you're right. My rat line of the week. The Steelers are a good football team. Kenny Pickett is playing better football. I don't think the Browns are a good football team. I think these are two teams going in opposite directions. I tweeted this out last week, but listen, Mike Tomlin doesn't have losing seasons. He's a damn good head
Right.
coach. I am putting an orange chip on the Steelers to cover today, -2.5. These guys they might make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They need some help, but they might make the playoffs. But at the very least, I think Mike Tomlin and those Steelers are going to fight hard today. I think they're going to beat the crap out of the Browns. I just don't think the Browns are a good football team. And I think Kenny Pickett has been playing better football of late. And I like what the direction the Steelers are going. And at the very least, they're building kind of like similar with the Lions. They're building something for next year. So I like them a lot today in a divisional game to beat the Browns at home.
So I'm not quite as bold. I will. So I don't want to everything's mirrored so far.
Yeah,
That's okay. Again, there's not that many games that are live, so that's what you got to keep in mind. But I'm with you on that. I'm going to take them 2.5 with the blue chip instead of the full orange. I'm looking at. We'll get into Chubb. I have a Chubb bet coming up, but there's a very much outside chance that he could come in and win the rushing record if he goes off here against Pittsburgh. I mean, he'd have to have 200 plus yards rushing, which is probably not achievable, but there's maybe the slightest bit of motivation for for Cleveland's offense to run the ball and do all that to try to get him closer to the rushing title. But it's probably out of reach. Josh Jacobs had a nice year and he's finished. Derrick Henry's, number 2. He's finished. No one else behind Chubb is going to catch him. I was trying to make a case that, maybe they could go out and get it. But I think it's a little too far out of reach. And even so, like you said, Pittsburgh, man, can you imagine if Tomlin goes 9-8 with this team, even if they don't make the playoffs?
Yeah. And listen, I thought this was a 3-win team to start the year. They look like a 3-win team all season. He's a miracle worker. Steelers fans never get rid of that guy. He's amazing.
Yeah, that would be so dumb unless he wants to have a change, but that they just keep him for as long as he wants to coach. You're going to have bad years as a franchise, and he just doesn't. He just continues to fight. That they've made a lot of low seeds, and it's unreal. All right, so okay, real quick, Bears Vikings. I don't want to touch this line; it's silly. Buccaneers, they're already locked into the 4 seed. They've won the division. I don't know. The Falcons aren't a great team. Whatever. I don't really want to touch the Bills game. Given what happened, that's an emotional thing. You don't really know how that's going to go. They could come out and they could play real motivated football. They could come out and they could just not have it. Right. There's a lot of things going on there that have nothing to do with football. I don't want to avoid that. I don't want to mess with that. You can say the same thing about the Bengals game. They're on the other side of that. I think that they want to win this football game, right? They go out and they win this football game, they'll for sure they won't have to have the coin flip to play Baltimore, whichever stadium, whatever that weird scenario is. But again, 9 points, I don't know, that's too much for me to mess with. Jets don't have anything to play for, but they're playing a division rival. The Dolphins can get in with some help. 3 points feels right. I don't like that line. This game has nothing on it. The Panthers Saints. So I don't really have anything there. Those lines over there are dead and too much. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else. Is my point.
Shout out to DeMar Hamlin. Obviously, I watched that situation live. I was putting my son to sleep, and when I watched it on my phone, and I was like, oh my God, this looks really, really scary. And it kind of hit closer to home, just having a son and putting him to sleep and those kind of things, right? And then we have since then heard great news. He's woken up. He's been able to FaceTime with the team. He's been able to communicate and things like that. I am going to touch that line.
Okay.
I'm going to put a blue chip on there. Listen, I think the Bills kicked the crap out of the Patriots today. They already own the Patriots number in the Josh Allen era. This is the divisional game, but I think that those guys are going to come in completely fired up, completely motivated. It is a home game. Buffalo, the city of Buffalo, has been through so much over the last couple months. Shootings, storm, this situation. Listen, I think this is a team right now that is destined for greatness. And if I was Kansas City, I would be really worried about seeing this team down the line. But for today, I think the Bills absolutely smoke the Patriots and put them out of their misery, and they win this one big for Hamlin. So I'm going to go all in on the Bills today.
Hope you're right.
Yeah.
Honestly, hope you're
Yeah.
right for a lot of reasons. Obviously, those players deserve that from everything that they went through. That was a tough night and a tough week.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
it's been an emotionally draining season for them.
Yep.
So this will be one of those where if they're able to finish out and win the Super Bowl, this is one of the most remarkable stories in NFL history, right?
Absolutely.
Everything that they had to go through with that city, with that team. So,
Mhm.
all right, that's where we're going to leave it. I hope that you finish in the plus territory.
Me
That
too.
would be great. I didn't make enough bets to go under. There's a little bit of just the fact that I don't like a lot of these bets. That's a lot of it. But so I will finish positive here.
Nice.
Here's the place where we will definitely finish positive.
Yes.
Because 1 unit every week. I'm not going to lose 8 units here. Patty had asked me to run some math for her. I mean, the math's very simple, right? Like we do this because it's easy. You bet 1 unit on this lineup a week. And I'm up 8.8 units. You're up 18.2 units. If you were betting with us, you bet 1 unit on each of our lineups every single week. You would be up 27 units. So if you bet, I'm not saying you should do this, but like just for simple math, if you bet $100 on each of these, you're up $2,700. Like this is good money that this segment has brought for. There's no additional like rake or anything like that. That's included in these lines here. This is pure profit that we've been having. Now, last week we both lost.
Yeah.
Just there are days where it's not going to happen, but in the long run, we've done quite well here. You've got 3 bets for the New England Buffalo game. Why don't we start there?
Let's do it. Mac Jones, thoughts and prayers to you today, buddy. I don't like the spot for you at all. Like I said, this is a road game for them, divisional game, an emotional game. I'm taking the under today. 220 yards seems like a lot of yards for Mac Jones to throw today against that Bills defense. That's going to be really, really fired up and emotional out there. And that crowd, it's just a really tough spot for Mac Jones. So I just don't think that he's going to be able to hit that over today.
I think that's a good bet. And I don't think that we talk enough about the Bills defense and how good they are. So, geez. Touchy mouse. All right. So continue on the other side of the football, and then I'll get to mine.
Yeah. Listen, Josh Allen taking the over on those rushing yards today. I think he's gonna come out there fired up. I also think that going forward into the playoffs, the running game for Josh Allen is going to be a big component. If the Bills are going to go to the Super Bowl, it's going to be on Josh Allen's right arm, but also on his legs and him being able to just have that power football game that he has and push them in there. So I think he's going to get that engine revved up a little bit more today. I think he's going to get more than 40 yards rushing. I'm going to take the over on that one.
I like that. And then I assume you like McKenzie to go over on the receiving.
I sure do. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. I love all things Bills today.
All things Bills.
Yep.
Okay. So I like all things Bengals offense. And for me, I think this is probably my favorite of the receiver props. There's some yardage ones. But, Chase is going hot right now. I think you got to continue that. 6.5 receptions for him that's not a scary number, right? I think he can clear that. Burrow, remember when I had that Burrow bet where it was 22 completions for the game or whatever? It's like, this feels really low. And he had 26 in the first half.
Yeah.
Bengals like to throw the football.
Yes.
Right. They like to throw the football. So I think 272 yards. I couldn't find the Burrow completion bet again. They didn't do that anymore.
They took it all.
So they must have
lost on that one.
They must have looked at that and been like, yeah, maybe we don't mess with that. So 272 yards. Again, that's a nice game. But this is how that offense moves. It's a divisional game. I don't think that they're going to have any problem with running it up. And again, I think they want to win this one because this ensures them that they'll have, a home game against them and not have to take it to a coin flip. And I know Baltimore, they're a tough team. They're well coached, but they're a little bit wounded to duck here too. So I'm going to run with that. So that's I think you don't have any in that game. So let's move to the Cleveland-Pittsburgh game, which we have opposite here. This is a greatest hits bet.
Yeah.
I've taken Nick Chubb a yardage bet a lot, and I have
Yeah.
hit almost every time I've taken it. He's third in the league in rushing. So I'll just read this out. So he has 1448 in terms of yardage. He needs a 91 yard game to pass Derrick Henry for second this year. He would need 206 yards, which is a lot. He would need 206 yards to pass Josh Jacobs for the rushing title. Now, if they have a nice first half and they get into something where, like, hey, we have an opportunity here to get Chubb the rushing title if we just keep feeding him the ball. That wouldn't shock me if Cleveland does. What else do they have, right? Players, they certainly respond to those kinds of things. We've seen that kind of stuff before. The two other players just happen to already have played yesterday, so you don't have to we don't know how that guy's did. No, it's done. Like, those are the guys that the mark's out there. So I just kind of have a feeling that they're going to lean on him because what else is there anyway? And there's just an outside chance they just go crazy for him and get him within striking distance or even get the title. So I'm over on 75.5 for Chubb.
I like it. You could probably throw Justin Jefferson kind of in a similar situation today, right? He's trying to get that receiving record today, right? And they might just throw him the ball a ton against a Bears secondary that's absolutely just decimated right now with injuries. So I like that bet a lot. We have bet against Kenny Pickett a lot, I feel like, this year. And I'm not going to do it anymore. This is a bet for Kenny Pickett today. I'm taking the over on those 190 passing yards today. Listen, he looks kind of good. Like, he's been coming into his own. Everybody talked about his small hands and this and that and nonsense. And he's been playing better football. This is a big football game today. I think this is a sneaky shootout game. So I think that we can see your bet come through with Nick Chubb running crazy. And I think that Kenny Pickett might throw the ball all over the field today and win the game for the Steelers. So I'm taking the over on Kenny Pickett's passing yards today.
I was at the Senior Bowl in last February, and I was at the practices, and my impression was that none of those quarterbacks were particularly impressive, right? Like, they didn't really have very good arms. And my thinking was, if you're going to take a shot, you take Malik Willis because he just has that athletic upside.
Yeah.
But clearly Pickett was the only, I mean, even at the Senior Bowl practice, you could say clearly Pickett's the only guy that has those basic accuracy that he's NFL ready, which I know has some problematic language for a lot of reasons, but you could kind of tell, he could step in, he could run an offense. And I loved it when Pittsburgh took him because, he's a pick guy and it makes a lot of sense. And once that moment happened, I'm like, oh, I'm cheering for Kenny Pickett. I hope he does well, right? I did make a Kenny Pickett bet, famously a couple weeks ago, and I said he was under on the half interception. If I would have faded Kenny Pickett, I would have been up in this segment. But no, I love it, and I think you're right. So I don't know what's going to happen in the Dallas game. I really don't. But they do need to win. If they want to put a little pressure on, to try to win the division. If the Eagles somehow fall, maybe they don't have enough motivation to keep their horses in the whole game. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but CeeDee Lamb's really coming alive. This line felt a little low to me, 63.5. I think that he's just a good football player with having a good year, and coming on late. And I just don't know if the line just hasn't adapted to him or not yet. But 63 didn't feel like enough to me, so I'm just going to take that one. And I'm going to take my last bet because I want to finish with your final bet.
Yes.
Okay. So Aaron Rodgers, I don't like to bet on Green Bay or anything like that. So take this for what it's worth. But I'm sorry. This is a movie I have seen so many times in my life. He's going against the worst defense in the league. His receivers are at least coming into a little bit more. I've just seen this too many times, and they're giving it to you. No, I'll take the over on the touchdown bet here. I don't want to. Maybe if I won, because of this, I'll donate some of the money to ayahuasca awareness or something. I don't know, but I don't know. But this one just seems like it's just kind of handed to you. So I'm going to take that, and then I need you to end our prop bet season on
Yes.
what might be the greatest prop bet I've ever seen in my life.
Listen, I could not, if Jack Fox walked in this room right now wearing a t-shirt saying, "Hello, my name is Jack Fox," I still wouldn't know who the hell he is. Guess what? I don't care. I think that we're going to get a lot of offense today in this game. And I'm going to take the under 4 punts. 4 punts from that Lions offense? No way. I don't think so. I'm going to take the under today on that. I love punter bets. I love punter bets specifically in the Super Bowl. That's one of my favorite prop bets that I bet every single year, because you just don't see it a lot. But I'm going to take the under on that. I just don't think we're going to get 4 punts today. But when I saw that yesterday, I was like, whoa, punter bet. I probably had like 2 bourbons already. And I was just like, you know what? We're doing this. We're adding it in there. We're finishing the year with on a high note. We're getting a punter bet in there. And hopefully we both go 5 for 5 today.
You don't think that I'm going to put some guillotine bets out there next year? There's no guillotine bets today, but yeah. So I saw the new punter bets only because Ross sent them to me before I had opened PrizePicks up. So thought that was really funny. But yeah, inside the 20 bet. I mean, you have to be a degenerate to get that far into this. Like, but I thought that was kind of amazing. John's taking some free squares here with Bears sacks. Probably, right? I mean, that makes some sense. Let's see. I think all Bears fans feel comfortable and they're happy to cheer for Lovey.
Yes.
And then I don't think that's hyperbole, but relative to fantasy defenses as well, Detroit's given up more points and yards in a lot of different categories. They've been really bad. The Bears now have given up the most points. So if you want to call that the worst defense, like feel free. Like that's fine.
They've got a star in Hutchinson. He's going to be awesome.
Yeah, he's going to be awesome.
Their secondary is still really rough. They fired their secondary coach earlier in the year. So, going against, listen, Aaron Rodgers, we don't like to root for him, but we all need a villain. He's Thanos, he's Ivan Drago, he's all of that. So, it's going to be one of those days. That's going to be a very fun, exciting night. I just hope that somehow, some way, the Lions are still in the mix to make that game a lot more competitive tonight.
Yeah, I don't know how the Rams are going to upset just because the Rams are pretty lifeless right now. But the Rams have won a couple of games since going to Baker Mayfield, which has been great, right? Like that's been pretty fantastic. So, I have no love for the Seahawks. Like, I don't care about seeing the Seahawks in the playoffs. You know what would make me excited to see in the playoffs? The Lions.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them in the playoffs. Let's do this. So, yeah, I'll cheer for the Rams to pull the upset, make this game live on Sunday night for both parties. Again, the Lions aren't going to care that much if they're knocked out. They're not going to be like, "Oh, we're going to give up." They, like you said, they're coached by a total meatball head coach. He's gonna have these guys motivated to knock out Green Bay. How lovely would it be if Green Bay finished 8-9?
I know.
And like just on that cusp, right? Oh man, that's beautiful. I would love to. I mean, as much as I wouldn't mind watching Green Bay travel to San Francisco next week and just get completely obliterated, that's been an annual tradition. That has been a lot of fun. I'd love to just see the Lions take them out. It'd be beautiful.
Yeah. We got a little bit of breaking news. Tyler Huntley is out. So Anthony Brown will start today. So if you really like the Bengals today, hopefully you jumped on them early on, because I'm sure that line just moved quite a bit with that news.
Yeah, that line's going up for sure. Okay. All right. Well, Ross, thank you so much this year.
Yes.
I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll correspond about some playoff bets. I don't think we'll do another show, but we'll put those out into the world as we get into the playoff game. So
absolutely.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been great. See you.
All right, Erik Smith coming in. Erik, how's it going?
Pretty good. Tough week as a football fan, but doing well other than that. Can't complain personally.
Yeah, obviously you're a Bengals fan. You were obviously clearly watching that game and went through that, and had a interesting probably week 2 as a Bengals fan, just given all the stuff that was coming out about how they're going to deal with that game and everything, secondary to a lot of things. But Kind of insane. So daily fantasy lineups. I went back and I kind of looked at the last few, like how I've done, and it looks like I'm cashing most weeks, but again, I'm cashing like double my money, double my like maybe 150% of my money, stuff, So I kind of went back and I think overall in the year I'm up like 7 or 8 units or something like that. But I don't bet them every week. Sometimes I don't really feel great about it. I don't bet it. I've never spiked a huge win. A lot of the times I'm kind of just grinding out. Today I'll just admit it. Today I didn't put in the bet. It just feels so weird, and I don't think I have a full understanding of where everything's at.
Yeah.
And who's going to play or who's going to pull, back their players or anything like that. So I just a caveat coming in here. Maybe there are some good ideas, but a lot of this I don't feel good enough about this week to even play. I'm just kind of cashing in my chips for the year here. So, but why don't we start with you? Daily fantasy lineup. How did you approach this week? Where did you kind of come up with some of your ideas?
Yeah, so I was kind of just completely avoiding some situations. That was a big piece of it. There's only a few games I felt comfortable picking players from, and one of them is the Bengals offense. One of the, obviously, like you said, the DeMar Hamlin stuff's the most important part, but one of the bummers as a Bengals fan is they were shredding through the Bills defense on Monday night. They looked awesome. This passing game is just cruising. So I think any piece of this Bengals passing game you can get is a good piece to get. So I started with Burrow as my quarterback. You could stack him with Higgins. You could stack him with obviously Jamar Chase. You could throw in Tyler Boyd too. I just think that's one of the few passing games we could really lean on this week. And they, after handling that situation really well as a franchise and as a team, the NFL has kind of done some things to them this week that has firmly put them back in the us against the world mentality that they have kind of thrived on over the years. So I don't know. I'm expecting an angry Bengals team. I was worried about their mindset coming off of that scary Monday night game, but over the past couple of days, now that Hamlin is looking on the up and up and the league's kind of created some rules on the fly, I think it's an angry locker room, and I could see several Joe Burrow passing touchdowns. So that's kind of where I started. And I think there are a lot of good receiver values, honestly, like T. Higgins. I didn't get Devontae Smith in my lineup, but I think he's a good value. CD Lamb's a good value. So I kind of focused on running back after that, but I think a Burrow stack is a good way to start.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, I reiterating what I was talking about with Rodgers. Like, I've seen the movie too many times. I don't think he's been very good this year. Obviously, you look at the points per game. Burrow's like so much higher than Rodgers, but you talk about matchup, you talk about moments, you talk about him playing a little bit better. A guy like Romeo Dobbs, like good value there, 5,600. It's basically free in that spot. So you're kind of stacking that. I also went with Aaron Jones. I see you have him early, just because, he catches the ball out of the backfield. Again, I think there's going to be a lot of points here. You could probably have a lot of dump offs and you get double points. So there's a bit of a quarterback receiving back stack that I went with here. Again, I don't like betting Packers, but it is what it is. It's week 18. I think that there's some good idea there. And again, if you see this, the 32nd, the Lions are the worst team in terms of fantasy value of giving up points to quarterbacks.
Yep.
That's real. Like that didn't just go away overnight. So keep that in mind. Higbee, to me, again, Baker Mayfield throwing at tight ends. The Seahawks have shown all year that they're not very good at defending tight ends.
Yep.
Super cheap play. That to me feels alive.
Yeah, and I also wanted to punt at tight end. Trey McBride might be off a lot of people's radars. I don't know. Maybe people noticed him last week, but rookie tight end, he's got some talent. He's been playing a lot of snaps since Zach Ertz got hurt and just not seeing targets. And, this is kind of like playing blind here. It feels like he had a good week last week with David Blau, and David Blau's the quarterback again. Maybe David Blau just likes throwing to tight ends. I really don't know, Jeff, but 7 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown for McBride. I'll take a shot that it's somewhere near that for a second straight week. So he's going to be on the field a lot, and if Blau keeps looking at him, I just wanted to highlight a couple of these punt plays this week. So I think McBride's a good one. And then right below him in my flex spot, Jonathan Williams for Washington. Both Brian Robinson is out and Antonio Gibson. They got to give the ball to somebody. And I kind of don't think Washington's just going to let their rookie quarterback drop back like 52 times and just get sacked. So I see a lot of running here from Washington personally.
I mean, I don't even know who that person is.
Which one? Both of them?
Williams. No, I know.
Yeah.
I actually knew who McBride was.
I think he's kicked around the league a little bit. He's been on some different teams. So he's the perfect running back to soak up like 20 carries in week 18. So.
Yeah. Right. This is the time to shine for those guys on a team that's out of the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I see our defense approach here is to go cheap and to go against good matchup. I like yours just as well as I like mine, and yours is cheaper. This is just a little nod to the Texans going against Sam Ellinger, or however he pronounces the G. I guess I'll find out today.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a little momentum here. I think Levy's team's going to be more motivated, and maybe that's just complete BS, but just complete more motivation for their coach. And I wanted to represent that in some way. And taking their defense here was a way for me to do that, in addition to taking them in the pick segment. But excited about that. And then I like the Dolphins bet as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're at home. I think they're still going against Flacco. I think that's who's playing for the Jets at this point. So, just felt like a good situation for some picks, maybe a pick six. I do think there are some high-end defenses you could make the argument for paying up for here. I mean, San Francisco home against Arizona seems awfully nice. Even the Eagles home against the Giants with the backup quarterback. So this would be a week where I think you could pay up. But if you're not going to pay up, then just go for the cheap options, I would say.
Feels like the Vikings could just run the ball like crazy, particularly, and then get Cook out of the lineup quick if they're going to play him at all. And so that would be a lot of carries for Alexander Mattison going up against a bad Bears defense. It's cheapish, but they certainly put a floor on there. 7,000 isn't nothing, but I actually kind of like Garrett Wilson with an established quarterback. I feel like Flacco can actually manipulate a secondary. He's veteran savvy. I think we kind of make fun of Joe Flacco, but he's a viable player. So to me, I like Garrett Wilson a lot more with one of the other Jets quarterbacks than Zach Wilson for some reason, right? Like Zach Wilson never figured out how to use Garrett Wilson, but so I'm playing Wilson there. And then I'm taking Diggs. Like of all of the players that, I kind of talked about trying to stay away from the line because you don't know how to. Diggs is like a super emotional guy. It seems like, and it feels like he might just have that extra layer of motivation. So here's an opportunity to try to take him. So expensive, but I don't know. I wanted just to, like Ross was talking about, this team could come out and just have like a crazy offensive explosion. So I paid up for Diggs.
Yeah, he was one I pointed out on the Sit Start podcast too. Like he's had some down weeks, but there's been bad weather. He went up against Sauce Gardner in a game. Like there's been some reasons that he's been in a little slump lately. So I wouldn't jump ship on Diggs if you need to play him for your week 18 matchup. And I think he's a good play in fantasy too. So my DK Metcalf play was just kind of the Seahawks still need to win. He's a big play threat, rack up some points against the Rams, and then CD Lamb, kind of the same thought. I know Dallas could sit their starters, but I think they got to score some points first. I mean, they do have a shot at the division, technically. I know we don't expect the Eagles to lose, but I could see CD Lamb racking up 6 catches in the first half pretty easily. So I don't know. I liked my receivers. They're better receiver options, I think, than some other positions. I almost went with Christian Watson, kind of like your, Aaron Rodgers, Romeo Doubs kind of theory there. So I thought he was a good value. So yeah, some good receivers this week. You can kind of pick your favorite matchups here because there are enough where their teams are still playing for something. I felt good about them.
Yeah, I feel like the Cowboys needed to play. So maybe they'll scoreboard watch and they'll say like, okay, Philly has this game and we'll just pull back and who cares. But I felt like they were going to play, and that's why I took the CD prop. But maybe that's a bad prop. Maybe don't follow that one. I get it. Just felt like game flow there. Try to stay away from a lot of that stuff. It's kind of hard. There's just not a lot of games that you feel like these are going to be competitive contests the whole time, 4 quarters, no question, right? There's only a few of those. The only other guy, same thought with you with DK. I took Kenneth Walker. Kind of a greatest hits play there. He's been really good for me all year when I've taken him, or when I've taken him on props, or when I played him in fantasy on my own team. For the most part, he has not let me down. And so Kenneth Walker, kind of a week 18 hat tip to you, my friend. Hopefully you win Offensive Rookie of the Year, because that's what I have a bet on. I do not have a bet on Garrett Wilson, who probably could take it. Chris Olave might be the best. I don't know. All right, Survivor Pool. You did take an X, so
Okay. Yeah.
technically we are live. If you miss both and I get both, we will tie. I don't think that's going to happen. You are up first, and what's going to happen here? Where are you taking this?
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts here this week, and I want to make sure I am not missing the obvious one here. So give me just one moment. But I think there was one good one, isn't there? Oh man. At this point of the year, it's like, who do I have left? And yeah, was it I think I've got to go. Oh man. I kind of hate to pick against your Bears. I think the Vikings are the best I have on the board. Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Vikings. I was just making sure I wasn't missing someone there. But yeah, give me the Vikings. They've still got seeding to play for. This does matter for them. I don't. It's always hard to say if a team's tanking, but the Bears roster they're putting out there on offense is not real great this week. So give me the Vikings.
Okay. Yep. In my mind, there was a time where I thought that you had already taken the Vikings, and I thought, okay, well, I'll take the Vikings in week 18, and then I realized that you had not taken the Vikings, and so I knew that this was going to be a little bit harder of a segment. So, all right, let's see here. Who did I have? I have not played. I've played a lot of teams that are favored. Like there's not a lot of lines that I can bet here today. But I'm going to take the Steelers.
Yeah,
that was my first one. So I'll take the Steelers. I think that they're just well coached. Like I just don't know how else to put it. That's a very simplistic point of view here. Tomlin just has this team ready to go. Every single week, they're tough. They're going to grind out a close game. You know, the Browns is a divisional game, all that kind of stuff. I get it, but it's the only team that I have left that has that's has an advantage in the point spread. So that's part of it. Well, not the only team, but I'm not going to take the Packers. So we're gonna roll with the Steelers here. Not much analysis. Just I like Mike Tomlin. I think he can do it.
Yeah, they were on my radar for sure. I like them at home against the Browns, and I think Pickett's been playing pretty well. They just need a better offense coordinator, but in my opinion. But yeah, I like that. I like some of the props around the Steelers too. I mean, I had Najee on my daily fantasy team. I picked an over on George Pickens receiving yards this week. So I don't know. I think they're live for a decent game, but they need this one. So I am going to go with I can't believe I haven't taken the Seahawks, but I'm going to take the Seahawks. So that works out for me. It's at home against the Rams, divisional game. The Rams have been a little feisty. I don't think it's as big of a slam dunk as the 5.5 spread might lead you to believe, but I'll certainly take them with something on the line here, something to play for, a shot at the playoffs. One more time, Gino. Give me one more win here. It's been a fun year.
Okay, so I do have another team that does well. Again, I'm not going to take the Packers. I'm going to continue my shtick and just not take them. So they are favored 4.5, 5 points, depending on where you're at. The Saints are actually favored at home, 3.5 points. I don't know. Like the Panthers are weird. Every time I'm like, Panthers are bad, they win. Every time I'm like, oh, Panthers have some life, they lose. Like, so I don't really know. I don't know what the Saints want to be. They surprised me and beat the Eagles. It was just like I don't really understand it. I'm going to stay away from them because I don't think that I've been taking this segment very seriously. I outthought myself many, many times. And that is what it is. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to take the team that I am cheering for the most, the Texans.
Nice.
Lovie Smith's Texans rolling into Indianapolis. And if this comes true, if the Vikings take care of the Bears and the Texans take care of the Colts, the Bears will have the number 1 pick in the 2023 NFL draft, and that will be a lot of fun to cover. So that is my pick. I'm going to take Lovie Smith's Texans in my final survivor spot to bring it home.
Yeah, we were talking about the Texans on the podcast, and we were like, they should be tanking this game, but I don't even know who they would sit to like tank this game. You know what I mean? It's not like they have a bunch of stars to sit here. So they're kind of like on autopilot right now. It's like the Texans are going to play a Texans game. So let's see what the Colts bring, I guess. Because, yeah, either team could win that game. So I don't hate it. But definitely, you're definitely wishing this into existence here, Jeff.
Yeah, why not? I think having the number 1 pick would be a lot of fun. I don't think that the Bears would use it. I think that they would be silly to use it. I think they would have to trade it, but that's even more fun. And then that's how you build teams, is you get more draft capital that you are able to fill more holes on this Swiss cheese roster that the Bears have. They need to rebuild. They need the materials to do that. And the number 1 pick would provide a lot more, because it would turn into a lot more picks. As Ross said, great theory would be that the Colts basically throw this game. They get a decent draft slot, and it's in range for them to move up to the number 1 to jump the Texans, so that prevents them from getting Bryce Young and gives Bryce Young to the Colts, who some will absolutely convince themselves is one of the best prospects to come out in X number of years, or certainly in this year's draft. And so you could see it happening. You could see Jim Irsay kind of going down that path. So whatever, we'll see. It'll be entertaining. At least it's entertaining for today.
Yeah.
So
I think second pick's a good spot, though. Honestly, I mean, we all kind of shoot down these quarterback prospects far out from the draft, but somebody's going to get into CJ Stroud and trade up for him. Like, there's a couple of options there. So I think you're in good spot even with the second pick. But yeah, let's go number 1.
I agree, but it's even more fun
Yeah.
if you have that number 1 spot, because then that domino will fall, I think, pretty quick. I think somebody will come up for it. We'll have something to talk about in the preseason. In the off season before the draft. So that'll be fun. All right. So I wanted to spend the last few minutes here, and we don't have to belabor anything, but I wanted to know, I don't know if you've written an article about this or if you've had the space, but lessons learned, what you've kind of thought about this year. What did you get right that you felt really good about? What did you get wrong that you are like, dang, of course. I feel like you were really high on Jalen Hurts, and that was a big win for you. Like, what else is out there? Any sort of lessons emerging for you from this season?
Yeah, there's a few. The whole playing the injury game, injury-prone players is always risky in fantasy football, and I think we saw it this year. The debate was Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor at 1 and 2. People were taking Jonathan Taylor because he was the healthier player. Christian McCaffrey's injury prone. They kind of flipped roles this year where McCaffrey was healthy and Jonathan Taylor got hurt. So I think that's always interesting. You saw some rookies like Breece Hall get hurt and Javonte Williams, a second-year player. And then you see some of these guys like Ezekiel Elliott and James Conner just keep plugging along. So it's like it's difficult playing this health game with these running backs. And I don't know. It's going to be, once again next year, we are going to be dealing with these older running backs like Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, even McCaffrey's getting up there in age. These are going to be the best fantasy running backs again. And once again, we're going to be like, man, are we going to draft a 29-year-old Derrick Henry or however old he is? And so it's interesting. We kind of kicked this thing down the road another year. Not a lot of good young options to replace them. And so the running back position, I think we want to take the early ones, lock them in, and then just draft receivers. Just take your Jamar Chases, your Justin Jeffersons. And I know everyone always wants to have that RB1, but if you don't get one of those top 3 or 4, I think we just need to go to receivers. Or maybe even we factor in some quarterbacks and some tight ends this year, because we really saw Travis Kelce dominate. So that was kind of the overall thought. But I don't know. I can't remember if I talked it on here or if it was Ryan on the podcast, but we liked Jalen Waddle a lot, and it turned out to be a good play for most of the year, but it kind of pushed us off of Tyreek Hill a little bit, which was a mistake. So that was one mistake we made. And I think it's important to realize that you just want players on these good offenses. And honestly, if you took both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, that would have worked out fine too. Like, don't let one player push you off of another player for something that's not related to that other player, if that makes any sense. Like, we shouldn't be down on Tyreek Hill just because we like Jalen Waddle, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I think, you're hitting on one of the bigger things that I missed, which was that Kansas City would be impacted by trading away Tyreek Hill, that they would really suffer. And with all of the wide receiver movement this offseason, which there was a ton. Yeah. My thinking was like, Kansas City, like they have Kelce, but like they're missing that second piece. they're going to really suffer. Well, they didn't, because, obvious statement. Patrick Mahomes is really good at football, and so is Andy Reid. And so that they did not miss a beat. Now, the infrastructure in other places did, right? Like Green Bay's offense really struggled without Devontae Adams early on, and they've played a little better as of late, but they're certainly not what they used to be. But Mahomes is he's in his prime. He's one of the best, if not the best, we've ever seen at this point. I mean, he's so good. Rodgers is at the end of his career. He's not going to have quite the ability to do things that he could have, 5-6 years ago, right? So that might be part of it. But Green Bay, I thought they were a little silly thinking that they could get rid of Devontae Adams when they don't really have anybody else. Kansas City at least had Kelsey. But then, AJ Brown into that Eagles offense, I was like, man, that's going to be awesome. And it was, right? So I get what you're saying. I thought that the quarterback in Miami didn't really match up with what they were building with those fast players, because I like a nice player, but not like a super great arm. So I don't know. I was wrong on that too, because they made it work. So that trade really messed me up, because I was like, I don't really see it in Miami, and that's going to hurt Kansas City. I don't really love that trade.
No, it's interesting. I think it's just betting on talent there. We obviously want opportunity in fantasy football, but we knew that Tyreek Hill was a great player and Jalen Waddle were a great player. And sometimes you just kind of have to let it shake out, I think. But it was a confusing offseason. Another thing, I think maybe we're undervaluing rookie wide receivers a little bit. We saw some really good rookie receivers this year in less than ideal circumstances too. I mean, Chris Olave was really good from a fantasy perspective this year for big stretches. Garrett Wilson played in one of the worst quarterback situations you could play in, and he had stretches where he was startable. Also, same with, even Drake London for the Falcons. That's just such a low value passing offense. But I think if you had dropped him in a lot of other offenses, he would have had a big rookie year. I think we had a lot of really good rookies this year. And I think going forward, they can make this transition pretty quick. Look at Jamar Chase. I think we should be willing to go out on a limb on some of these rookies when they fall in a good offense, a good situation. Even for the Packers, they had stretches where their rookie was playing well. So I think we need to look at them maybe a round or two earlier than we normally would, and take some chances, because the transition is getting easier, I think, for them into the NFL.
Yeah, definitely a trend that you've seen. 10 years ago, you would never take a rookie wide receiver, because they barely see the field, or the route running. Route running certainly better in college than it was 10 years ago, but it's still not NFL level for many of these guys. But when a guy comes out like Chris Olave and they say he is a great route runner, believe them, right? That means the transition is going to be easier. A lot of these guys don't have to run a full tree. Also doesn't mean that they can't be successful as a rookie, but a lot of these guys are going to have to learn how to run routes and all that kind of stuff. But if the scouting report is hey, this guy already runs pretty good routes, maybe you push him up a round or two. That makes a lot of sense. I think for me, I wonder about the quarterback issue, because I haven't looked at the numbers, but it feels like, which is never a good thing without diving into the numbers, but it feels like if you had one of those top guys, you were way more likely to have a fit playoff team. But if you had that next tier down, you were in trouble, or you were trying, Justin Fields had that run, for 6 weeks, where if you were playing him, you were doing pretty good, and you probably could have got him late or off waivers, given his start. But so maybe you piece something together, but for the most part, if you had Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, right? That was kind of those top four guys. Mm-hmm. And then after that, what was it, right? So does that kind of push up the need to grab one of those safe quarterback options so that you provide the safest floor that you can for your team?
It's definitely, we're going to be debating it all off season. And as usual, you've got to pick them right. That's still a big part of it. I'm just looking at the ADP from preseason. Herbert went third among quarterbacks. He's been good, but fantasy wise, he hasn't been that great. Lamar Jackson went fourth. He's been hurt. Kyler Murray went fifth. He's been hurt. So you still got to get it right. But yes, I would agree that having a difference-making quarterback is more of an advantage than it has been recently. I think some of it's been that the lower level guys aren't as trustworthy. But just looking at points per game this year, like there's a stark difference between Jalen Hurts 26 points per game, Allen 25, Mahomes 25, Burrow 23, and then it drops down to Fields at 20, and then the rest are like down at 18. So yeah, the top is kind of separated. So as long as we can pick them right, then yes, I would go for it. I would. I don't know. We'll see how far up they get pushed. And it's always a tier thing too, right? Like if everyone's pushing Hurts up into the second round and you can still get Burrow in the fifth, then you probably want Burrow in the fifth. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. But it does feel like the bottom of the quarterback streaming landscape is getting worse. And so it makes a lot of sense to lock in these elite guys.
Yeah. Thinking back to, I know I did the one league this year and I have pared down my exposure to fantasy, but that's how I played it, right? Like I had my guys, and once they came off the board, I ended up taking Burrow as like the last guy that I had my tiers. And then, was able to have Fields at some point, to be a bye week fill in. And then it was like, actually, I got to kind of run this. Yeah. I've got to roll with this hot streak, for quite a bit. And that worked out. Like, so, taking those two roster spots and having that work out. But, Allen went pretty early, and there was a time where I was like, man, I probably should have taken him because it's just providing such a great base for a team. Honestly, the guy that had him, his team was not good, and he made the playoffs. I beat him in the third place game. It was just, he had Josh Allen. That's it. Like it was pretty much what he did. So it's almost like that quarterback can win you a bunch of weeks if you have one of those top guys. And I think that you're going to find more people kind of just being like, well, whatever, I'm going to build my team out of that. So it's just going to be, I think that's going to be a big piece.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a whole wave of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford. Like we're going to need to replace their production going forward if they're going to fall off a cliff or if they're going to retire or whatever it is. And so we're going to be counting on like Justin Fields, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, like those are the types that are going to have to come in and play every week and fill in some of that. And that's a high standard those quarterbacks have set. So yeah, there's a good chance there's still that upper tier that we had this year and then a pretty big drop off next year. So I think those are going to be the decision points is like, how much do you believe in Tua, Fields, Lawrence, whoever else you want to throw into that mix? Because if you don't believe in them, you better go get like, Patrick Mahomes or something. Because it's, these older quarterbacks, I would not trust them at this point. Derek Carr could be on a different team. Like we're starting to lose some of those veteran options here.
Right. It's almost the Michael Irvin. We're losing our recipes. I almost felt like we're losing our old quarterbacks.
It's finally happening. It took feels like 50 years, but it's finally
happening. Tom Brady might be 50. I can't remember. I gotta go look that up. That guy, unbelievable. If he honestly, I don't understand this guy. Clearly, he's a megalomaniac and all that, but like, yeah. Is he going to go change team? Is he going to go try to play with Josh McDaniels in Vegas? Is he going to try to, why would you do that? But like, is he going to go try to like worm his way into San Francisco? Like what's going to happen here? This guy's insane. I don't get it, but whatever. Yeah. I don't have to get it. This is it, man. This is the end of our 18 weeks. You showed up for, I think you only missed one show, right?
Yeah, just one.
And I missed one show. I think Ross hit all 18. So
yeah,
man, insane. Ross gets the perfect attendance award. I ran a half marathon and Lester chipped in on one of these shows. So appreciate Lester doing that. But it's been a fun group to work with you and Ross this year on this. And we'll figure out where this goes in the future. But as always, all of your fantasy questions, hit Erik up on Twitter, Erik Smith QBL on Twitter. And follow Quarterback QB List. Like it's the best site out there, and their guys are available. Like they will answer your questions. That's the point of this fantasy community. A lot of those national guys, good analysts. They know what they're talking about, but they have thousands of people sending them stuff. They don't respond to hardly any of it, right? Every once in a while, you'll see them respond to people, but it's tough. It's tough for those big platform guys. You run a great platform where it's based on building that community. And so the biggest of shout outs to your community.
No, well, thank you very much. And especially week 18, it's awfully hard to just give just kind of generic advice on some of this stuff, because this is a weird week. So feel free to ask us any questions. We're always happy to have them. And it was really nice having the community this week with the whole DeMar Hamlin situation. It was nice to have a good group of people who all were respectful of the situation, and we all tried to figure out what to do with our fantasy leagues, and it was good conversations going on. So it's a lot better than the community at large sometimes on Twitter. So very appreciative of everyone in this community and our community. It was reassuring that we can handle some difficult situations here.
Absolutely. All right, well, we'll end it there. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the games today, and I'm excited for playoff football and for the off season for the Bears. So let's get into both of those things at the end of the day. So thanks.